The jury reaches a partial verdict in the Diddy trial, but told to keep going. Let's dive in. The courtroom sat heavy with silence as the judge informed everyone present that the jury had reached a partial verdict. But that wasn't the end. The jurors were instructed to continue deliberating on the remaining charges. The room, once filled with anticipation, now shifted into uncertainty. For Sean Combs, known to millions as Diddy, this isn't just a courtroom battle. It's a public reckoning years in the making. Jury deliberation is one of the most mysterious, human-driven processes in the justice system. It's a closed-door conversation held among citizens, not legal professionals. No lawyers, no cameras, just people. And now, this group of anonymous jurors is tasked with determining the outcome of one of the highest-profile trials in recent memory. The fact that a partial verdict was reached tells us something critical. It means the jury has agreed on some of the charges but remains divided or unsure on others. This isn't uncommon in complex trials with multiple counts. But in this case, with the public eye watching every move, the stakes feel heavier. So what exactly happens in the deliberation room? After closing arguments end, the jury is given instructions from the judge. These instructions explain the law and how to apply it. From there, the jurors enter a private room and begin the process of reviewing evidence, discussing testimony, and trying to reach a unanimous decision. They can take notes. They can ask the court for transcripts or clarifications. But they cannot receive new evidence or information that wasn't already presented in court. The pressure is intense. Jurors know they are being asked to make a decision that could alter someone's life forever. In cases like this one, with public pressure, celebrity status, and multiple counts involved, it's common for some charges to reach agreement quickly while others become sticking points. Perhaps one piece of evidence is stronger than another. Maybe a witness seemed more credible in one context than in another. Or perhaps the charges themselves differ enough in scope and seriousness that the jury's reasoning shifts depending on which one they're discussing. When a partial verdict is reached, the judge can decide whether to accept the decisions that have been made and wait for the rest, or ask the jury to continue and attempt to reach a full consensus on all charges. In Diddy's case, the court has asked them to continue. That means deliberations could go on for hours or even days more. What's happening inside that room right now is likely a mix of conflict, persuasion, frustration, and perhaps moments of doubt. Jurors must be unanimous in their decisions, and if just one holds out, it can cause a deadlock. But juries aren't just groups of people guessing randomly. Deliberations follow patterns. Studies show that jurors often begin by voting informally on each charge to get a sense of where everyone stands. If the results are close, they dive deeper into discussion. If there's a strong majority, they may quickly solidify the decision. Psychologists who study jury behavior note that stronger personalities tend to emerge in deliberations. Leaders form. Some jurors push their interpretation of evidence more aggressively. Others remain quiet but firm in their beliefs. Group dynamics begin to play a role in whether consensus is reached. Then there's the complexity of celebrity trials. Jurors know who Diddy is. Even if they swore to be impartial, subconscious bias can creep in. Fame can either work in favor of a defendant or against them, depending on how jurors interpret the case. In high-profile cases, there's also the weight of social consequences. Jurors know that their decision may be scrutinized by the public, the media, and possibly even by their communities. That awareness can shape deliberations. Some may be more cautious. Others may dig in, refusing to be swayed by perceived pressure. Artificial intelligence, while not part of the jury, can model likely outcomes based on historic patterns. Looking at previous celebrity trials involving multiple charges, AI finds that partial verdicts often precede a mixed final decision. In other words, it's rare for a jury to start split and then completely flip to either full acquittal or full conviction. The deliberation length also matters. Studies suggest that longer deliberations tend to favor acquittal or partial convictions. Quick decisions, especially after closing arguments, are more common in straightforward guilty findings. The fact that this jury is being told to keep working after a partial verdict might suggest they are struggling to agree on more complicated charges. Let's consider the prosecution side. They presented evidence from multiple sources, including eyewitness testimony, surveillance footage, and digital communications. They aimed to establish a pattern of behavior, not just a single incident. But patterns are open to interpretation. One juror might see consistency. Another might see coincidence. On the defense side, they worked to cast doubt on intent, reliability of witnesses, and possible inconsistencies in the timeline. If even one juror accepts that reasonable doubt exists, It can shift the outcome for specific charges. This is where deliberation becomes both a science and an art. Jurors are not legal experts. They are people using their life experiences, values, and reasoning skills to assess whether the burden of proof has been met. The judge, aware of how emotionally taxing deliberations can be, will remind the jury that they are not to rush. Justice is not about speed. It's about accuracy, fairness, and clarity. The goal is not to convict or acquit quickly, but to do so justly. There's also the question of whether jurors might eventually become deadlocked. If they cannot agree on one or more charges after extended discussion, the judge may declare a mistrial for those counts. This doesn't mean Diddy is acquitted. It means the prosecution would have to decide whether to retry those charges in the future. But for now, the deliberations continue. Outside the courtroom, media outlets speculate. Legal analysts debate the jury's body language, the pacing of questions sent to the judge, and even how long lunch breaks last. But inside that room, only the jurors know how close or far they are from reaching consensus. For Diddy, every hour that passes is one of suspense. The difference between conviction and acquittal on even one charge could shape his public image, his business interests, and his future forever. What does AI suggest comes next? Based on similar case data, the model predicts a higher probability of a mixed verdict, some guilty, some not guilty, and perhaps one or two unresolved charges. This is not a certainty, but it reflects how complex cases like this tend to conclude. As the world waits, the system grinds forward in the most human way possible, through conversation, disagreement, persuasion, and ultimately a decision. And when the final verdict is read, it will mark not just the end of a trial, but the beginning of a new chapter, no matter what that outcome is. Subscribe to AI Daily Impact for real-time analysis on breaking legal news and how AI is transforming justice, media, and society.